Rich Gannon is with us once again. Played quarterback for the Vikings, Redskins, Chiefs, Raiders, drafted by the New England Patriots in 1987 in the fourth round, was it?
Fourth round.
Fourth round. But that didn't exactly work out.
You forgot to introduce me as the school principal over here at Midland South High School.
That's what Zoe calls him. He says he looks like a school principal.
He goes, hey, dude,
so like,
should you be with the kids today?
Hey, let him out.
Should you be monitoring the hallways right now, making sure people are going to class?
That's good seeing you, Rich.
Good to see you guys.
And Rich, by the way, of course, is on the SiriusXM Blitz, SiriusXM NFL Radio, weekdays, noon until 3 Eastern. And what happened? Tell us how you
crazy.
didn't end up being a Patriot and instead played for all these other teams, and, and we could have used you.
It's crazy. So I went to the University of Delaware, and we played against a lot of those schools in the Northeast, right? We played against Boston University, University of Massachusetts, Connecticut, a lot of those schools. So I went to the Combine in '87. I worked out for a number of teams. The one team I didn't work out for were the Patriots. And, of course, the night of the draft, I get a call from Dick Steinberg, who was the general manager at the time, and Raymond Berry, the head coach of the Patriots, said, hey, congratulations. We were excited to draft you in the fourth round, and we just want to find the best position for you. So I'm sitting there on the phone long before cell phones. I went, like, what? What? Are you serious? I'm a quarterback. I'm not a defensive back. I'm not like a running back. And I thought to myself, my dad was an attorney. I got accepted to law school, and I thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to go to a training camp and try and learn a different position and not make the team. And be one of those guys that's the last cut and come back the next year in the last cut. I'm like, you know what? Forget that. So I talked to my agent. I said, I'm not going to go. And so 6 days later, they traded me to the Minnesota Vikings. And that's how – that's crazy, right?
I mentioned Bucko Kilroy. These guys were still there when I was there.
There's a story behind the story. So my best friend from high school, my teammate, was the ticket manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. Bucko Kilroy used to work for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're dear friends. So Leo Carlin, who was a ticket manager for the Philadelphia Eagles for 50 years, picks up the phone and calls Bucko Kilroy and says, hey, this is like my third son. He says, you got to do something here. Bucko Kilroy goes to Dick Steinberg. They talk about it, and they trade me 6 days later.
Crazy.
Love it.
And there's a lady by the name of Nancy Meyer that still works there. Nancy ran all your travel.
Yeah.
She's still there doing all that stuff.
Isn't it amazing?
She was in front of Bucko and all them.
But it was reported at the time the Patriots were looking at running back, defensive back, or wide receiver for you. I mean, I just don't understand how you draft someone in the fourth round and say,
we'll figure it out.
We'll change him from being a quarterback to any of those other positions. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I think it's just a small part of a ridiculous history of that franchise, of the Patriots franchise.
Well, you know what, though? I've followed the franchise closely. I've obviously watched all the games this year. I'm excited about this young quarterback, Drake Maye. I think he's going to be terrific. When you look at the volatility around him this year, the fact that there was so much change with the offensive line wasn't very good, all the different rotations. The wide receiver group had the fewest receiving yards in the NFL this year. I think when you look at his production, I just think, and not only that, but look, I played against Mike. I know what kind of person he is. I did a lot of his games when he was with the Tennessee Titans. I think it's all starting to come together. I think this is going to be – I think it's going to be a rebuild, but I think they're heading in the right direction.
I had Parcells for the first part of it up there, and then we went to Pete Carroll, then it went back to Bill.
Yeah.
And there's things that remind me of Parcells and Mike. I think Mike's more like Parcells than he is Belichick.
No question.
People think he's going to be all Belichick, where I think he really makes the effort to not be Belichick. And I think that's what's going to make, sort of him successful. And, he's got a presence when he walks in. I always tell these guys, I said, you got to be able to hold a room. Some of these new guys, these young, innovative offensive coordinators, we'll see what happens in Chicago. I don't know if the guy can hold a room. Eventually, after 2 years, Mike McDaniel down in Miami, stuff starts to wear off. The luster wears off a little bit, if you know what I'm saying.
Mike could hold a room.
He could.
He can. And I think, his presence.
He's a quirky dude, huh?
Yeah, but the thing about him is that he's played the game. He's got the respect from people that in the profession. I think when you look at the job he did, he went down to Tennessee and they weren't really a good team. And I think when you look at what he got out of Ryan Tannehill and the fact that they were a competitive football team, it's hard to win in this business. Listen to this, guys. We fired 37 head coaches in the last 5 seasons. Think about that, 37. Wow. Bill Belichick got fired. They're all getting fired for the same reason. If you don't have production and consistency at the quarterback position, you're just not going to make the cut. That's look at all the different turnovers this year with the coaches, and so I think you got a young quarterback there. You got somebody, and bringing Josh back, I think is significant as well, right?
It's huge, and people think, okay, well, he's going to run the old Brady offense. We ran the old Earhart offense and zero out slot.
Yeah.
Then we would tag the routes. Josh will adapt to Drake, and I think he's Football's football.
Yeah.
Passing routes, flood's a flood.
Yeah.
A crosser's a crosser.
Yeah.
You got to find terminology that I think will help blend it. But offensive line up front, man, if we can protect him, he's going to be good for many years.
Hey, you look at this division, though, that's the thing. I mean, the Patriots basically owned the division for, the better part of 2 decades. Now, all of a sudden, you look at Buffalo, and you got to figure out what do we got to do to compete with them. The Jets are in a rebuild. Miami's, this quarterback.
How can the Jets be in a rebuild? Just everything they amped up for the last 3 years.
Unbelievable. You put all your chips on the table on one person. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
You think he's done? Rodgers?
I think at 41 years old, I think he can still sling it. If it were me, I think I'd look to move on. And
you and I can both still sling it. Doesn't mean we could run faster than anybody.
He's not the same player, obviously, he once was. I think the fact that, a big part of his game was his ability to create and manufacture some offense and extend plays.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that anymore. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what direction Aaron Glenn wants to go.
Talking about young quarterbacks, why do you think Jaden Daniels was able to be as great as he was this year so quickly?
I think when you talk to people in the building and people that have been around him, I think the poise and the confidence was just uncanny for a first-year player at that position. I go back to the first game of the season when they played the Buccaneers. They lost down there in Tampa Bay, and I just thought the second half he played really well. He settled in. The moment wasn't too big for him, and you just watch him throughout the regular season. He got better. They got better around him. His ability to create, manufacture offense on his own, I think, to get the ball out quick, I think they got better around him. But, man, that guy is a magnificent talent.
Because we know you like Drake Maye. We all love Drake Maye, too. But at some point you've got to sort of go from being good and looking good to turning that into wins. And so I think a question a lot of people in New England have is how does Drake Maye go from what was a good start in year 1, but being 1-9 as a starter, and have that translate into wins? And obviously the roster is a problem, but there's another element to that to sort of take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think situational football, I think third down's an area where he can get better. I think red zone, you talk about 2-minute offense, all those things, really understanding the game. I think the other thing is just being a master of your domain, understanding protections, understanding fronts, coverages, where the pressures are coming from, who the coordinators are. And I just think that's when the game begins to slow down. I think you saw it with all the good quarterbacks, the evolution of when the game slows down, you're able to process and absorb information quickly and efficiently. That's really where we see a lot of improvement with the young quarterbacks.
So in your mind, for a young quarterback, what's more important, for them to fix the offensive line or get him some weapons?
I think it starts up front. I think when you want to build a really good roster, you got to be strong down the middle. And you talk about that center position and the edges, be able to be really good at the tackle position, and to be able to run the ball and protect him, and then, of course, get some playmakers. But I think if this were Bill Belichick and he was starting over, I think that's where he'd start.
What's your take on him being at Carolina?
I think it's awesome. I know Michael Lombardi well. I know Bill a little bit, but
you don't know Lombardi well.
Yeah, but I just think I think it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity for him to really make an impact with a lot of young people. I think he's excited about it.
You should probably have Pete's in Vegas.
I think it's the right move for the Raiders. They needed to get somebody in there.
Man.
They need some structure. They needed somebody who could come in there and do it and has experience. And Pete certainly brings that.
It's like a 3-year thing for him, right? 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's 73. Do you know that
really good placeholder?
Pete was in Minnesota when I started my career in '87. He was a secondaries coach. I've known Pete a long time, but
I love
he's got this youthful energy and enthusiasm about him. He play hoops with the guys. He'll play racquetball. He's in great shape, and I think mentally he's ready for the challenge.
He would call me, be body surfing, and he'd listen. He would have the doors cranking. He had the windows down, doors cranking. He was going to go body surfing. This is when he was at SC, and he was just rolling in it, man. Him and Snoop just going. Will Ferrell, we're going body surfing, man. So you'd love it out here. You got to come out here. I'm like, oh man,
he's the best. And look, they've got to find a quarterback too.
Yeah. What's your favorite hire of the cycle so far, head coaching perspective?
Well, I think Mike made. I think everyone wanted Vrabel. I think I think the Raiders would have loved. I think Tom Brady would have loved to. Talk about Tom Brady with the Raiders, man. Think about that.
He's got his hands in everything.
He's got his hands in everything. But I think Vrabel would have been the one that I think got everybody's attention. But I kind of like Pete because I think Pete's been took a year off and I think he's been chomping at the bit to get back in and I think he'll do a great job.
Vegas will revitalize him. He likes that action, man.
Yeah.
He's going to be good for it.
So Sunday night, if Mahomes pulls off the three-peat, where do you fall on this Brady-Mahomes debate? And what does it mean for his legacy? I
mean, I think we're splitting hairs. I still think he's got some catching up to do to the GOAT. But, I think when you look at his body of work, it's so impressive. I think there are similarities. You say, well, wait a minute, they're very different players. But I think when you look at similarities when it comes to big games, critical situations, got to have it. inside of 2 minutes, ahead, trailing, behind, making a play. I think there's a lot of similarities between those two players.
All right, Rich Gannon, catch him on SiriusXM Blitz on SiriusXM NFL Radio weekdays, noon to 3 p.m. Rich, thank you.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.